Your Daily 180, 180 seconds of pure Bible study.
As we continue looking at the idea of our nation's pawns of God, we're going to now turn our attention to something that is a little bit harder to understand, and that is God's use of evil nations over evil nations. Hello friends, welcome to your Daily 180 Bible study. Thank you for joining us. God's providence also allows for evil nations to be used as instruments of judgment. On the surface, this seems to be unfathomable for God. How can an inherently just God use that which is evil to carry out His purpose? Such an idea does not make sense to us. And the prophets of the Old Testament surely lamented over this to God numerous of times. The first two chapters of Habakkuk deal with this very issue. Habakkuk could not comprehend a more wicked nation being used in a sense of judgment on Israel. But God would not leave those wicked nations to their own devices for long. God told Habakkuk that the Chaldeans were going to be used to punish Israel. They were a hasty and bitter nation, Habakkuk says. But I want us to also look at what the prophet Jeremiah was told. He was told that I, speaking of God, will punish the king of Babylon and that nation, the land of the Chaldeans, for their iniquity. The primary message in the book of Daniel was just how this was going to take place, how the Babylonian judgment was going to come about. The Babylonians, the Chaldeans, they were the same people. God had used them to judge His nation of Israel, but because God chose to use them, did not render them exonerated from their own evils. The Chaldeans still had to pay for that which they had done. This is why it's important to note that each nation has its own ability to choose its own direction. You have the ability whether to serve God or reject Him. He will use you as He sees fit, but that does not mean you will escape the judgment. Choosing to follow Him is the key for national longevity. Tune in tomorrow for another episode of Your Daily 180 Bible Study.